All right, guys, what's going on? Gonna do a talk. I did the poll earlier today about whether we wanted to talk about North American Counter Strike or early returns on ELeague, and I decided to just do both. Gonna release the ELeague one today and probably that North American one later this week, one of the days before the game start. But yeah, I thought this was like a much more interesting topic. I know everyone's kind of the whole scene, the whole community, even myself, like leading up to this, has been very curious as to what this ELeague is going to be like with Turner and all that excitement and everything like that. So we got here on Thursday. It's only been like one day that we've actually worked with them, but I mean, it's a lot that the impressions we got. There's a lot that I can talk about just from that one day. It was just Friday. But we'll just start flat out and just we went to we hopped on the shuttle Friday morning, went to the studios, got dropped off. We walked around. We got a tour of the studios. So I mean, it's really really cool looking what it is. Obviously, Turner, the studios they have are just flat out massive. It's just a huge complex of studios and everything like that. But walking through, they showed us the inside the NBA set where there's like Charles and Shaq and Ernie and Kenny. That set is like maybe like a 5 minute walk from the ELeague set, which is really really kind of cool just to walk through it and check it out. But I mean, the entire area, this ELeague set they have, all the hallways, it's branded with ELeague. It's like the logo, it's the design and everything is all over the walls, right next to like CNN logos, right next to inside the NBA logos. So it just gives you a really really cool feeling. The set itself for the matches, like the stage and the seating and everything like that. It's beautiful. It's epic, and I know they're really excited. They have some really cool things to release about it, so I can't really go into it too much. But we were all blown away walking in and just seeing how awesome looking it is. And I know like it was this great source of pride. Everyone that was there from Turner. Essentially just was like we've been working around the clock on this. Like 3 days ago this set looked completely different. It was a little bit more barren. They've put a lot of work into it apparently, and everyone was just super pumped that it was starting to look that way. And everyone was it's crazy, man. I mean, there's so many people they have on this set, whether it's operating cameras, whether it's guys, are coming through in between sets and in between takes and like mopping the floors and everything like that. So, I mean, there's been a lot of work that's put into this. You guys are going to be blown away by it, I'm sure, because I was. It's one of those kind of things that kind of makes your jaw drop just a little bit. But after this tour of the studios, set our stuff down, went into like a pre meeting, like just kind of everyone, met all the executives, met all the producers and everything. Really cool guys, really laid back, really excited to get this all started. Did like a run through of the show, of how they wanted to operate. We got handed, the rule book for how the competition is going to be. Admin, how it's going to be refereed or whatever you want to call it. So we're all very clear on what rules they're allowing, what they aren't. You got handed that, which is sweet, and just the general mood of that pre-production meeting was kind of like, all right, we're gonna have this rehearsal today. We're going to get through it. Like don't worry about any issues you might run into. We know there are going to be some things that are rough, but we'll have a meeting afterwards and we'll talk about everything that you guys liked, didn't like, what you wanted to fix. Very open to suggestions, very open to advice. So that was really cool. Now the rehearsal itself was actually pretty insane. So I know most of you, that's an understatement, but don't understand like when we go to normal rehearsals in esports. It's very much you're there for like an hour or two. It's not always the most productive. There's sometimes there's a lot of issues going on with the tournament organizers setting things up, getting everything plugged in properly, all the sound working, making sure the internet's working and everything like that. So it's usually just a quick rundown. It's mostly for the host. The analysts and the casters don't really do too much. Maybe like 5 minutes of talking total, checking volume levels, making sure everything's working properly. But it's mostly the host where they just like run down just the opening segment, how it's going to go, what kind of graphics they have, and then like the process of getting into that first match and what happens outside of that first match. And then it's kind of done. It's very low key. It's very laid back and relaxed. This rehearsal was actually pretty crazy. It was basically a full day. They simulated an entire day of matches. We got in, we did makeup, we got dressed. We started the show, and it was like a 6 to 7 hour rehearsal where they actually brought in 10 students from Georgia Tech and made like two teams of these students and said, you guys are going to play as the fake matches. So it was very much like the entire start to finish opening segment on the desk. throw to casters, like do all the different things that we're going to have, all, run through all the content that we have, which again I'm not going to reveal because I mean that would be really unfair with how excited these guys are. But it was just kind of astounding. They had fake teams playing matches that were actually casted. They brought in, there's going to be a studio audit, so they brought in people to come sit down and watch and see if everyone was in, like, if the sound was okay, if the volume levels were all right. They even they even actually simulated hardware and server issues to test the admins to get them used to it, to say, okay, this guy's player X's mouse just broke. What do you guys do? How do you get fixed? And like to see how fast they can do it. Like, sure, things keep running. I simulated a server issue so that they could work through that. And I know, there's a guy, Jason Baker, Alchemist, who some of you might know. I know he did the production. He worked with MLG for the major and like the qualifiers and everything like that. And he's also a really old school guy who worked on some of the earliest esports productions with, Gotfrag TV, MFAVP. Good dude, very experienced. And he, I mean, just talking to him, he's entirely blown away by the equipment they have, the amount of equipment they have, the amount of people involved in this on every different level. I mean, he just told us flat out, he was like, these guys have spent the last 3 days, they put more hours into practicing like precision and timings of the camera shots they want when they come in. When the show starts, when they go to players, they practice more time doing those shots. They have more hours logged in that than any amount of esports rehearsals he's ever been to in his life. So I mean, it's just insane stuff. The level that this is at. The director, I believe it's the director. I could have this wrong. I'm not entirely sure. It's either director or like executive producer, like one of the very high up guys in charge of the show. Jason was telling me he spent, Jason's spending, anywhere from like 10 to 13 hours at the studio. Well, this guy's the first one and the last one to leave, like 15, 16-hour days at the studio preparing for the show to start. He's even logged like, I think it's like 100 hours of Counter-Strike over the past couple weeks, after the past month, whatever it might be, leading up to ELeague, just so he has an idea of what he's working with, and he's been encouraging the other staff, the cameramen, or whatever it might be, to log some hours in Counter-Strike so they know what's going on, so they have an idea, so it's not just going to be brand new to them. They kind of get the flow of the game. They get to kind of understand. So there's a lot of excitement from the Turner guys, from everyone working on the show about doing this right and doing it and kicking ass, frankly. So I mean that was insane. And even after the rehearsal, a couple Turner people came up to, I know Semler and I were having a chat, and they walked up to us and they're like, "Hey, really sorry about the rehearsal today. We know it was like super hectic. We know it was kind of a nightmare, and it probably felt disorganized." And we just started laughing. We're just like, this is the best rehearsal we've ever been to. Like it didn't feel disorganized. It didn't feel like a nightmare. So I mean, already you can kind of see the bar that they're setting is so much higher than anything we're used to. And it's actually, I mean, it's really, really exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but really exciting to be in that kind of a situation. We did then, after the rehearsal, later on in the evening, had some dinner, did a post-rehearsal meeting where it was about 20 minutes of the casters, the analysts, sitting down with a couple of the higher ups and just talking to us, talking us through different things that went on, asking us questions, just telling us to give opinions. So like tell them if we had any very small issues they could fix, suggestions for things they could improve, how everything ran, how everything was going, what we liked, what we didn't like. It was very much collaborating to find a way. I mean, essentially the impression that I got in this post meeting was their opinion on this show is we want this to be as authentic to esports as possible. We're just trying to find ways to use our experience with traditional sports to fashion a show around it. So it was very much like coming to meet us, and like both kind of esports groups, like the casters, the analysts, finding ways to like meet in between and say, this is what we've seen work, this is what we've seen it hasn't worked, this would be a really cool idea we've never really been able to do. Let's find ways to like kind of meet in the middle, and so everyone's very happy. And it was very much a collaboration. Even as we were leaving, they had everyone from just Turner and like I'm assuming WME and IMG, all those guys doing like a round table, sitting around a table, talking through the day from a production standpoint, things that they were going to work on for the start of the show or for the next rehearsal, things they needed to improve on, things they needed to change, and just kind of reorganizing the show based off how the rehearsal went. And this is all like super cool stuff, obviously, for me to experience, for the casters to experience. We were all just massively blown away by it. But the real cool part about everything was It's even, I would say, it's almost away from the show. Some of it's going to be in the show, but it's like the content. It's everything they want to create. They wanted ideas. They want suggestions for content, for potential, for potential videos they can make, storylines. I don't even know if it's going to be used in the live broadcast. Maybe it's going to be on their YouTube. But they have just like hours of footage that's being like poured through, constantly edited, constantly checked for things they can use in the show. They want to make sure that if there is, for whatever reason, maybe a 10-minute delay, it's not just going to be the analyst desk sitting there chatting about whatever. They want to be able to throw to a storyline, throw to a segment, of an interview with a player, interview with a team, with their thoughts. And again, there's some really really cool ideas outside of just stuff like that I can't give away. But it's actually really cool to work in that kind of a condition because they want ideas. They want us to be creative. They're saying to us, like, we don't necessarily know how, we don't know everything. We don't have all the ideas because we're not as involved in this community. So give us the ideas, and we will look into doing it, and we will see, if it's possible, if we can do it. And everything has just been, make sure this is crazy as possible. I think even Richard, paid a statistic, like a professional statistics company, to give team breakdowns. For stats. So, we don't have to look up stats. We do our research on how the teams play. We do our research on, players and teams and, the history and maps and everything like that. But actual statistics for the players, we have those breakdowns for this first week. So that's really, really cool. But just the overall idea of working, just that first day even, it's like a whole new level of broadcast that's like very professional. It's really cool to be part of, and Turner's doing everything they can from making us feel comfortable, giving suggestions. Everyone's been really chill, laid back, but very much like zoned in on making this show great. I mean, even during the rehearsal, they had like CNN guys walking through. They had like executives walking through, some of the higher, like the way high ups at Turner that's not even involved in the show, but just the company, walking through and checking it out. And it's just that feeling of excitement in that studio, was kind of insane to be part of. It just felt very much a creative process, just the impression that all of us had was that this could just be incredible. No reason it can't be, with all the experience, very much lending their expertise to us and everything like that. So early returns, I mean, you guys should be excited for this league. First week's going to start on Tuesday. And just early impressions from at least the guys that were there at the rehearsal, working behind this, or going through that process, was we've already kind of messaged all the other guys and just been like, you guys are going to be blown away by this. Like, get excited, get happy to be here. So hopefully you guys tune in on Tuesday for the first show. It's going to start, I think, Monday afternoon. I think it starts at like 2 p.m. I want to say, or maybe it starts on noon. I think actually noon Eastern time in the States. But make sure you guys are tuning in, because there's going to be some really really cool things. And by the way, I do just now notice that my Twitter handle is different, so I'll put it in the comments. But get excited, guys, because everyone at Turner is pumped. Everyone at Turner wants to knock this out of the park, and they're pulling out all the stops to make sure that happens, and that's a possibility. In working with the Counter-Strike community, the Counter-Strike scene. This actually, one more thing, because there was one comment that really was cool, where I forget who it was. I forget where I heard this story. It was, questioning Turner, like, what amount of viewership numbers, where do you have to get to be happy with the viewership? Like, what is your goal? What's going to make this a success in your book? And they were just like, very much the impression is this is a long game. They said their response was, we just want to be accepted by the esports community. I mean, these are guys who are so, like, everything was so much compared. These are some of the guys that are working on ELeague, work on Inside the NBA, are like some of the higher ups who help run that show for the NBA. So they're very much just like, listen, we have all this experience. We want to work with you guys. We want to make this happen, and we want to bring our expertise and find a way to combine the two worlds, the traditional sport broadcasting world and the esports world. So everything, I mean, I know I've said it a million times. Everything was amazing on Friday. So look forward to it. I know they're going to do a lot of stuff tomorrow. Keep your eyes peeled for a lot of content released tomorrow, especially. I believe that's when, actually, just in case they don't do it, I won't even mention that. But they're going to be releasing some things tomorrow, and then just the league starts on Tuesday, guys, and just get excited.